The biggest thing that I was feeling through all of that was I was feeling completely alone. Nobody understood. Nobody was going to help. My family was still looking to me, trusting me to fix it. They're like, look, we've been through a lot of stuff, but I know Dad's going to fix it. It was a ton of pressure, but I just felt alone. There wasn't another person on the planet I could talk to about it. I decided after that I was never, ever going to let another person, if I could help it, feel alone. And so I started the podcast I did so that if I could help at least one dad out there not feel alone at that one moment, then all the podcasting would be worth it.
Hello, my fellow humans, and welcome to the Multiverse Technology Podcast. Today's guest is Rory, a podcaster, coach, and speaker who helps people become leaders and support their fellow creators. Welcome, Rory, to the podcast today.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me here, man.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too, man. I appreciate you coming on my podcast too. I mean, we had a good time.
Yeah, that was fun. Love to have you take our audience through your journey, what you've been through, how it made you who you are now, and some of the accomplishments and the setbacks you've had.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I've had a few. So, I rough childhood growing up, and kind of self-made most of the way. Took care of my family as a kid, and so learned a lot about that kind of thing. But I kind of found a way to raise up. Started a real estate company, grew it, with my own blood, sweat, and tears, and really with very little help. And we had 5 offices in 2 states. Life was going pretty good. And then 2008 happened, and the crash, that came along with it. We hung on for a few years trying to survive, and just could not make it through that. Just could not survive that on our own. We were an independent company,
Oof.
So did the best we could, held on as long as we could, and we ended up holding on too long, and lost everything, man. I mean, everything. You name it, it was gone. Shirt on our backs kind of thing. That's all we had. So
Even the dog, too?
we did actually lose the dog a little while later.
Aww.
Yeah, it was a rough time, brother. Really was. But
Yeah.
that stuff happens. You gather everything up. You learn what's really important, and you forge back out, man. You really do. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I can get into any of that stuff a little deeper if you want, or we can, move forward however you want to handle it, brother.
Yeah.
But it was tough. It was really tough. Took a while to get out of that.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I know back to that time, my brother, I believe, he was in real estate too. And they had tons of houses and properties, and they lost everything too. I was just like, I didn't quite understand it. I'm like, okay, you had houses, so what? You have a bunch of them. And I was young, I didn't get it.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize that was kind of like his whole life. That's what he kind of built up. That was what he was doing.
Right.
And to lose all that traumatic, what it did to, I saw in his eyes what it did to him. Like, imagine what it did to you guys. And then losing your dog afterwards. Damn. That's gotta be the worst part. Poor guy.
Yeah, it tore the family up pretty good when that happened. That's for sure. But it was just one of those things, man. You got to get past it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Going through that and losing the real estate business, the real estate company, how did you start to get back on your feet and start to say, hey, maybe I should start doing coaching or podcasting? Like, what was that transition like?
Yeah, I appreciate that. The transition was tough. I realized that I couldn't go back into real estate in sales capacity because, it takes a lot of money to get back into the business too.
Yeah.
But I was able to do teaching. I was able to do mentoring. I was able to do speaking. And so, that's kind of how I started to dig out. I worked 3 jobs, slept for about an hour a night, and worked on, my speaking business, built everything up. After about 6 months of sleeping 1 hour a night, we were kind of starting to get back on our feet, and it was time, so I started speaking, mentoring back in real estate, doing things at seminars, state functions, things like that. So give me a chance to do that. And then, of course, we started to dig out of it, and 2019, 2020 came along, and it
You got a slap in the face.
crushed all of us, So yeah, all of a sudden we couldn't be on stages anymore, couldn't be around people anymore. So I moved a lot of that to online. And while I was moving that to online, I realized, if I'm going to be online, then I need to broaden, my platform. And I wanted to talk about all the things I'd been through. And I wanted to help other men who were, going through the same thing, other fathers, who were dealing with what I was dealing with. And so I started a podcast. The podcast was called Power of Man. That was the first one I started, talking to other fathers and husbands about their difficulties. And it all grew from there, man. Just a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights. Now I have 6 podcasts and I do this for a living.
6
It,
podcasts. I could
it
barely
worked
get
out.
myself through one, man. Woo!
You got to love it. And you got to be able to do it full time. I'll tell you that. If I was trying to work a full time day job, there's no way I'd have 6 podcasts, man. No way.
I understand that. It makes sense. But
Right.
1 hour of sleep? I can't
Mm-hmm.
even function out for 4 hours trying to do all this stuff. You built all that with 1 hour of sleep. I would love to know more about that process. Like, what was that like? Like,
It
those
was
times.
brutal. It was brutal. I got 1 hour of sleep a night, and I knew that I was going to be able to sleep for maybe that hour and 10 minutes. And it was, I ran into the bedroom, you know what I mean? Jumped into bed for that 1 hour because I didn't want to lose even a minute of it. But then you get up and you go back at it. I found a way to take a few, maybe 10-minute naps, throughout the day in small little spots to just sort of keep myself from going insane. But put on a bunch of weight because, boy, I tell you what, when you're not sleeping, everything you eat just sticks to
Oh,
you.
oh, true. You eat the bad stuff, the
And that's all you can eat.
carb-high-rich stuff. Yeah.
Well, you're drinking high caffeine drinks with sugar in them that are terrible for you, to keep going. Living on a donut, or some 99-cent Twinkie type thing,
Sounds like my 20s, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I built it back up, and that 6 months probably took, I don't know, 10 years off my life, but it did get us back where we needed to be. And, people were
Why
like,
was
you
it
can't do this. There's no way to do it. I said, yes, I can.
why was it just an hour? How did you come up with that number? What were you doing all those times? Like, what
Yeah.
is
Well, I was
going
working a
on?
full-time job during the day, so kind of a, an 8 to 5, 8 to 6 type of job. Then I'd go to work nights, and I was working in, a couple different stores, things like that, a warehouse at one point, but I was always working in the nights and on the weekends. And I'd go to work after the day job, maybe 5 or 6, and then I'd work till maybe 11, 12. I'd come home. I'd sleep from usually 12 to 1. Then I'd get up, and it took about 15 minutes to, kind of put some cold water on my head and get moving. By 1:30, I had to be out the door because I was delivering newspapers, going to 2 different routes, in Michigan, and had to be there by 2 a.m. to pick them all up. And I did that from 2 till about 6 or 7 in the morning, and then come back home, grab a quick shower, cup of coffee, and go to the day job. So,
No
yeah,
sanity in sight.
no, no. And, I tell people that now. And even my kids are like, I can't believe we watched you do that. We didn't actually realize what was happening at the time. But they're like, yeah, Dad, you did that. You only slept for about an hour
What
every
did you
night.
think your kids got from that, seeing you do that to support them? Did they understand what you were doing, do you think? Did you have a talk with them?
At the time, they didn't. All they knew was that we were okay. We were still going to be okay. We had lost everything, but there was still food on the table. They still had clothes. They were still able to go to school, their same school. We fought really hard to keep them in their same school. They still got to go to football camp, stuff like that, And it wasn't easy, man. It really wasn't. But when you have to work that many jobs, there's still shortfalls. There were times I had to go give blood to get some money to buy some groceries to put on the table that night. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I think what they've
Yeah.
learned looking back on it, they've learned that, there's really no way to fail unless you let yourself. And, they've had a couple of rough spots in their lives. They're both growing businesses. They're both entrepreneurs, both my boys. And I think that they've learned that they can put up with anything for a little while if it's going to get their family what they need.
Well, seeing
So,
you, of course, you're being the one who's showing them that resilience, that putting that work into it, showing them what it really means to lead your family.
yeah, I hope so, man.
Like,
I hope
it's
that that's what they take out of
powerful.
it. Yeah. Thank you, brother.
Looking back on it, would you do anything different, or what advice would you give people if they're like, I don't know if I could do 3 jobs?
I got to tell you, I've been asked that question before. Would I do anything different? And I've asked myself that question a couple times. What would I do different looking back? It's easy to say, well, I would close the real estate company earlier, and I wouldn't wait till we lost everything because, it made it so much harder. But I don't think I would have, because I was going to try everything I could to keep that business going. It was everything to me at the time. When I lost everything, it really changed me. It changed me a lot, brother. I almost took my own life over it. I was really close, but I found my spirit. I found a relationship with God over it. It really, really changed everything for me going through everything I went through. And, doing the 6 months of 1 hour of sleep, that changed me too, because it really proved to me that I could do this if it mattered enough to me. And that's helped me a lot in the years since that happened. And it helps me even today because I know that no matter what comes now, I mean, brother, I've never felt more bulletproof in my life.
I
Nothing's going
see
to come at
that.
me that I can't handle in some way,
It
not anymore.
radiates from you too. Like you can see it like in your eyes and your posture. You can see that. I feel that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Man, it's a powerful thing. 'Cause so many of us, like you said about taking your own life almost, so many of us would see that, be like, I don't think I can do this, and then just end it there. I'd love to know, but what was going on in your mind from that point of almost taking your life to when you found God to get through it? What are those major changes there that really stuck with you?
The night that I mean, it was a buildup of feeling really horrible and being really embarrassed and, depression and everything else, feeling like a total failure for a long time, losing the big house and the nice cars and everything else because we had made it, by all standards, losing
Yeah.
all of that and then having to, watch your kids live the way that we were living, it was rough. It was really rough. And I kind of hit a point where I didn't think I could take it anymore. And then I kind of got a little quiet about it. And I said, they'll be better off without me because they'll be able to, go find help, that type of thing. It wasn't good thinking. It's just where I was.
Yeah.
And so you kind of decide that. Well, I decided that it was going to be, this one night. I was done. I went down the hall to just say goodnight to my boys who were sleeping. I came back to the kitchen to take care of it, to pull the trigger and be done. And my whole body just kind of went into a fit. It was like just started convulsing almost. It just seized up on me. I don't know what happened to me physically, but it brought me to my knees. I ended up on the kitchen floor not knowing what was happening to me. I thought for a minute maybe I was having a heart attack, and I was like, oh, well, that's convenient because I was going to do this anyway. You know, I woke up a couple hours later on the kitchen floor in cold sweat, everywhere, and a whole different perspective. And I was like, what in the world were you thinking? How could you
Mm.
ever have thought this? Get up. And I did. And I went, in the other room and I grabbed a whole bunch of pads, out of a box and found a pen. And I just started making lists of everything. I started writing every little thing down out of my head, all the problems I thought I had, a way to start trying to work on getting out of each one of those problems, the whole thing. And, the kids woke up in the morning and I had probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 different, pieces of legal paper spread around the floor in the living room. I was on my knees, and they're like, Dad, you okay? I'm like,
I'm glad
I'm
they
good.
found you that way and not on the floor with the gun next to you. That'd be a different thing, you know?
Yeah, that would have been a much different deal. Much different
Yeah.
deal. So, yeah, it was that at that point I realized, look, there's 24 hours in a day. And if I can find a way to work 23 of them, I bet I can do this. So I did. 6, 7 months later, we were digging out of it, and it was working. Yeah, brother, it was tough.
I
Good
feel
question
that
though.
right now. I'm like, whew. I mean, looking back at going through that and realizing what you had to do to change it, and you see someone else maybe going through that, would there be any advice you'd give them to reframe their thought process then?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
This is one of the reasons why I started my first podcast. Was that question right there that you just asked me? Because the biggest thing that I was feeling through all of that was I was feeling completely alone. Nobody understood. Nobody was going to help. My family was still looking to me, trusting me to fix it. They're like, look, we've been through a lot of stuff, but I know Dad's going to fix this. And it was It was a ton of pressure, but I just felt alone. Wasn't another person on the planet I could talk to about it, you know? And I decided after that that I was never, ever going to let another person, if I could help it, feel alone. And so I started the podcast I did so that if I could help at least one dad out there not feel alone at that one moment, then all the podcasting would be worth it. And since then, I've heard from hundreds of dads who have been in similar spots and who have, talked to me and said, "Hey, man, appreciate what you're doing. I was there. I know what you mean. I'm not there now." So when you know you're helping people like that, it matters. My advice to people would be tell yourself you are not alone. You're not. You think that everybody you have to reach out to isn't there, and they may not be, but that doesn't mean you stop reaching out. It means you just reach out one more time. Reach out one more time. Reach out to somebody you don't know. Go to your
Pick up the
church.
damn phone.
Yeah, pick up the phone. Go to your church, pick up a podcast, call me. It doesn't matter. And I mean, I've gotten those calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, So I work with a lot of veterans now too. And I've gotten
Ooh,
those texts, where they
I've
just
heard
can't quite
about
handle
those.
it at that moment. Yeah. And I mean, I'll text with them and then talk to them on the phone, whatever it needs to happen to make sure they know they're not alone. So that's it right there, brother. You're never actually alone, no matter how much you might feel that way. And that's the way to go.
Hey, my fellow humans, sorry to interrupt your video, but if you're looking for more ways to protect and empower your healthcare practice, we would love to help. At ITCMD, our mission is to simplify IT, boost security, and support your compliance journey with a human touch so you can focus on caring for your patients. Want to see how easy IT and cybersecurity can be? Schedule a free consult or check out our resources at iteecmd.net. Let's build a safer, stronger future together. Okay, bye. I love that because that's pretty much what we're trying to do with this podcast too. How
Yeah.
you framed it is differently, but how we're doing it is trying to get to people too before they get to that situation. Also, help them understand that there's so much going on inside them, that the whole universe is inside them, that they
Yeah.
aren't alone there, but they have to start asking questions coming out of their emotional state. That emotional state is what will kill you and take your life because those emotions are not permanent; they're just temporary. But
Absolutely,
it's so
brother.
hard to see that when you're in it. I've been in something similar before too, and it's almost like you just see red, and you don't see or hear anyone else. Everything's just quiet, and it's weird because there's so many people around you, but it's just this quietness.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you still doing the Power of Man, or do you say you
Oh
have
yeah.
other ones now? Not that one.
Yeah. No, Power Man is still going strong. We are almost at 350 episodes, I think now. It's monetized. It's my flagship podcast, and so yeah, I love it. I still do it. It's my first one. No, I've done some other podcasts where I've done them for a while and then they've served their purpose and I've closed them down. But that's the one, the first one I started, and it's still going strong. So yeah.
Ooh, that sounds like it's a powerful podcast too, especially for what we've talked about. And that's going in that energy and love and compassion is going into that to help people.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I hope that that's how it comes across still. We have built a big group of guys off of it in our Power Man Within group, and like I said, I've had the opportunity to meet with a lot of veterans through that group also, which has been really, really, really beneficial for me and hopefully for them. And so yeah, we're still doing the podcast, absolutely. And matter of fact, we put stuff out every single day. We're a 7 day a week podcast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, content every day.
I, I was actually talking to a vet recently and he was telling me about he actually helped me understand because I at first I'd reach out to a lot of vets or have them on my podcast. And I
Hmm.
thought they had such amazing stories, and I felt the urge to want to talk to them. But I realized they would talk to me, but then they wouldn't want to come on the podcast. I didn't understand why that was. But then the guy I had on my podcast recently explained to me that well, a lot of them are still caught up in like this PTSD or this fight or flight, and they
Hmm.
just can't come in front of the camera. There's so much going on there. And it was like, whoa. And it's just really sad too that as a human being, even as a vet, you have to go through something like that.
A lot of these guys went through stuff that we can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And so what I find is as long as you give these guys the respect that they deserve for what they've been through,
100.
they do open up eventually, but they need to know that you're not out there just trying to get a story, just trying to do an
That is
episode.
true,
They
yeah.
need to know that you
I felt
give a
that from
damn.
them in the beginning of my doing the podcast. I can kinda see how that would come off too, now I look back on it, 'cause
Yeah, I
nothing
know you
like
would
I'm
never do
doing it
that.
now.
No,
Yeah, but I
no.
think it came off that way. Because I did want people on there, but I didn't have a direction like I do now. I'm really emotionally invested into helping people. I didn't
Yeah,
see that then, so yeah,
right.
I
No, you're
feel
doing good
that.
stuff now, man. I mean, I would imagine if you tried again with those same guys, it would be taken a lot different. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I feel like this helped me so much being on the podcast and talking and helping others. I feel like they would want to also, but just framing it right and being on their own terms. I feel
Mhm.
like they could have such power and stories and this movement to help so many people also with what they've been through, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely.
There's power in stories, there's power in coming together and us being able to talk and share these things. These are powerful platforms.
Yeah, they are.
I
I
know you
agree with
took
you
a major
completely.
direction with that, but
It's all right. It's a good direction to go, dude. Really is.
yeah. Are you coaching people too, or are you just doing it through the podcast right now? Or
I
mentoring?
am. I am. I'm coaching and mentoring. I coach podcasters, I coach speakers, and I coach fathers and husbands and veterans on, taking more accountability on, trying to become better husbands, better fathers, that type of thing. Trying to move forward with their lives and lead their families. And that's the coaching that I do. I've got over 40 coaching clients right now that I deal with each, and I meet with them all each week. So I've got 40 hours a week just wrapped up in those guys that I
You
coach, those men
sound
and
like
women.
you sound like my coach. I have a coach, and they do a podcast every day. They're like on almost 3,000 episodes, and they're still coaching people like with 40 clients constantly. I'm like, sounds crazy to me, but I'm like, whew, you're changing lives though. You're helping people.
And it's not work either, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just your life. It's just something you get to do, you know? That's how I look at my coaching. It's something that I get to do for everybody. And I get done coaching, after lifting and have a long day. I get done coaching a bunch of people. I feel great because of the interaction I've had with all these people, and that's
Yeah.
just the best, man. It really is.
That's how I feel with the podcast, and I've been thinking about because been on my heart, like, should I start doing some kind of mentoring or coaching? What would that look like? Am I there yet? But now I have to remember what I've gone through already can already help somebody, but I just don't know how that looks just yet.
Sure. Sure. Well, it looks different
I
for
wouldn't know
everybody.
where I wouldn't know where to start, you know? I guess the podcast would be the first place.
That's what I did. I started coaching people through the podcast, and trying to help folks in the episodes. And it turned into helping them, in groups. And then that turned into mostly one on one.
Ooh, I like
So,
that.
the podcast is a great way to go. It's a great way to start, and then you see who you're reacting with and who you're helping. So, yeah. And you've got a platform. You've got a good podcast. You got a platform. So you're ready to do that, man. All you got to do is just make that be your content, go out there and help people the best you can and watch the results.
Yeah, like, I'm working on
100%.
like kind of shaping my stuff. Like I do the cybersecurity stuff, but I've been
Yeah.
working with my AI to help me integrate it into helping humans heal and show up better and be
Hmm.
better human beings, along with transferring those habits and consistency to protecting themselves in cyber also, because there is a duality.
Yeah.
That's what I've been trying to work on right now for myself, and it's tough because I'm trying to think, how do you frame these things so it's not just coming off as trying to sell something, but really truly wanting to help shape people's lives and mentor them and really come off as authentic to them, you know?
Yeah. I think again, the podcast is the way to do that. If they're hearing you in your podcast all the time doing that, and then they get it. They hear it from you, you know what I mean? And they know that's who you are. So then when you
Correct.
talk to them individually or you're emailing back and forth or something with somebody, they've already heard you on your podcast episodes for weeks or months or longer, and they know that's who you really are, So it's a great way to
I
utilize
like
the podcast.
it really is it's so powerful. I keep telling people like there's some people I talk to on here sometimes and they have so much great things to say and they're so personable. I'm like, why don't you have a podcast? But then also it's like it's a lot of work too,
Oh, yeah.
you know? It's a lot of things you have to. It is a second job,
Hmm.
you know?
Oh, it is. Yeah. And especially when you start off, it's a second job that doesn't pay you anything, you know?
Exactly.
And
But it's
that's hard to
fulfilling.
do.
It is. It's still
Yeah.
fulfilling though, but then you have to make money too. So it's like, well, then I'm back to, okay, let me get 3 jobs and do the podcast. Great.
Just sleep an hour a night, man.
You know,
That's
I
all you gotta do.
tried that one. If I sleep anything less than 4 hours, there's gonna be a World War III or some kind of dominant power coming out of my house and me trying to take over the world and destroy things. Just saying. It gets bad.
I understand. I really do.
Oh, man.
Right
Well, it's
on.
been really good, Rory, having you on here. I
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
you coming on. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Some really deep and powerful, impactful things.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Is there anything that you could leave our audience with? Maybe if they're struggling and how they can reach out to you and some words of wisdom?
Oh, I appreciate that. I would love to. In terms of reaching out to me, I'm really easy to find. You can reach me at just my name, at Rory Paquette, RoryPaquette. I'm on Instagram with that name. I'm on Facebook with that name. So both those accounts are business accounts. They're open. You can find me anytime, message me at either one, and I respond to everything personally. So just look me up there. Either one, it's totally fine. And as far as words of wisdom, it's whatever it is you're doing out there, keep in mind two things. First of all, it's not as bad as you think at that moment, no matter how bad you think it is. And the second thing is the only way you lose in this world ever at all is if you give up. That's it. Don't ever stop. And when you think you can't, just keep moving forward. Things will work out.
I love that. That is very powerful. I've been learning that myself. It builds that momentum, and you can keep going further than you ever thought was possible.
Yep. Keep moving forward, brother.
Won't stop, don't stop, never gonna stop.
There you go.
And I got one last question for you that really goes well with this episode. What does it mean to you to be a human being?
That's such a great question, man. I love that you ask people that at the end of your shows. To me, I think it means contributing. I think that being a human being to me means doing your part because we're all called to do our part, whatever that is. We all have a job to do. We all have a talent or, a skill or something that's been given to us in our life and something that we can contribute. And, I think there's a whole lot of folks that need to learn that. But I think that being a human means you're contributing to humanity. That means something different for everybody, but we got to keep doing it. We all got to dig a little deep and figure out how we can do that, man.
Yes, I love that because as a collective, we're so powerful.
We can
And then
be.
once we find our purpose and we start helping people, it just becomes such a powerful force in the universe.
You got it.
Thank you again so much, Roy. This has been a great time and appreciate you coming on here again.
Thanks for having me.
I